Hi, welcome to the Bikini Talk Show. My name is April Wayne, and I'll be hosting this afternoon. Today we have a lot of different topics to share with you, some very interesting topics. So let's get started. What do you think? Do you think photographers, for the most part, get into this business to pick up on beautiful women?
I completely think so. Most photographers are all about seeing next to naked bodies. Do you ladies agree with me?
No.
I totally disagree with that.
No.
I
don't.
totally
I mean,
disagree.
you have like great photographers like Hisham here who are very professional and treat the model with respect. I think it's all in how you handle yourself.
You know, you guys, I'm really getting tired of hearing this because you never see models saying painters are hitting on me. When you're nude in front of the painter, he doesn't hit on you. When you're standing nude in front of him for a week, you never accuse him of that. It's always a photographer. 99% of the photographers out there are professionals. Yes, there are maybe some bad
I don't know about 99% of it.
Well, maybe 98 and a half. 98 and a half. But you have to understand.
What percentile are you in?
No, you have to understand. If you're doing a swimsuit and the photographer say, "Don't drop the straps of your shoulder," that doesn't mean he's hitting on you. He wants to make you look beautiful. He sees what you can't see. So you have to really be able to distinguish between who's hitting on me or who wants to make me look beautiful.
I definitely have to agree with Hisham on that one.
I do too.
I agree too.
I don't know about hitting on, but they definitely want to see naked bodies.
Well, you know what? They're photographers, you know. Of course, you know. You're bikini models, you know. They don't want to see you totally
If the photographer
nude.
wants to see you naked, you should be really happy. Why? That means he loves women. And if he loves women, if he loves his subject, he's going to make you look beautiful.
Exactly.
If he doesn't like you,
It
he's
just
not going to look
depends
beautiful.
on what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Yeah, I think you're going to have your photographers who do it to get with the girls, and I think you're going to have your photographers who do it for the art of photography.
There's a
I
very
agree.
fine line. If you work with a professional, he will never cross that line. If you work with an amateur, then you're taking chance.
Exactly.
I don't think it's right to categorize people. Just because someone's a photographer doesn't mean he's in it to sleep with girls. I mean,
That's
it's an
right.
art
But then
form,
on the other
just like
hand,
anything
you
else.
really do have to be careful too.
You do.
I mean, being a beautiful woman, you're out there and you put yourself out there and you put yourself in a vulnerable position. So you have to be sure, because there have been incidences where things happen. So you do just have to sort of listen to that small little inner voice. But as Isham has said, it's an art form. Photography is an art
Nothing
form.
but painting with light. Just give the guy a chance to show you in a good way.
I'd like to go back to her question. She said that most photographers do it, get into the business so they can hit on girls or to get with the models. But why would a photographer go through spending a lot of money on film and
There's no money in
cameras
photography.
you know?
There's no money in photography.
So why would
Most
they do that?
photographers
So
are
they can hit
starving
on the girls.
artists.
So I think that you have a lot of, as a bikini model, you're beautiful, and the photographers see you. They see you as a beautiful woman, and yeah, sometimes, you know, they get flirtatious, and it's just so that you can be comfortable with them, so you can take wonderful shots, and that's the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And as a model, you should be comfortable with that, and like.
You should also be able to stand up for yourself and know your limits.
That's true
That's
too.
a big part
That's
of
definitely
it.
true.
That's the
You need to
beginning.
set boundaries for your own self. You need to take yourself as a
No
model and
photographer will
decide
force you to
what
do
you want to
anything.
do.
If you say, take your
If you're
top off, you
uncomfortable,
don't want
say
to do
no.
it, just say, I'm not really into that. It's very
Yeah, I
simple.
guess you can't categorize everybody, you know, all photographers, but a lot of photographers, I believe, are in for it.
Not all.
I
Not
want to see
all.
another thing.
You know what? Let's take it to a different little area here. What if I were to ask you to tell me what the craziest thing that's ever happened to you during a shoot? Let's hear some of those.
I have two. The first one, I was shooting at a private beach with a photographer. It was sunset, and I guess he didn't know that you had to be off then. So as we were shooting, a cop came to arrest him. I have a picture in my book with the black background, and as that picture's being taken, the cop is putting him in handcuffs.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
What
So I
country
guess
were you in?
Virginia.
Oh, well,
Good
there
old
you go.
South.
That explains it.
No, a
Is that in your portfolio?
couple years ago here in the jam,
Actually, it is.
I was shooting with a model, a swimsuit model. I'm not going to mention her name. She was beautiful. We were shooting right on the beach. We finished shooting the first swimsuit. Then I said, it's time to do the second one. Go change. And I turned my back to put the film, to get the film out of the bag and put it in the camera. And then I'm turning around, and here she is, totally naked on the beach. I said, go change. And I turn around, and she's totally naked, and everybody's watching. I said, what's that? She said, I don't care. I'm happy with my body.
Oh,
There you go. That's a perfect example. You know, depending on what model, how they feel about, you know, where their boundaries are drawn. So
I have one more actually. I was shooting outside a bikini in the water, and a wave came and took my top back with it. And that's the only one I had for the day.
You didn't get your top back?
No, the wave took it back with it. So I went home like.
I was the lucky photographer that day.
Yeah.
Well, my story is not that crazy. It's a little bit silly. I was shooting with a photographer once, and as I was basically on a bench, I was supposed to get on top of the bench onto the lamppost, and I almost fell. So that was it was a little bit scary. It's not as, it's crazy, like hers, her top is off or anything like that. But that was a little bit scary, and that was like the craziest thing that ever happened to me while I was shooting.
See, I haven't modeled very long, so I really don't have very many crazy stories, other than the other day when I was shooting. I was in the water and my bottoms filled completely up with sand, so I looked like I had this huge little pouch beneath me. But
Alan,
that's it.
shoot with me tomorrow and you'll have lots of stories.
I've done quite a bit of modeling, but this isn't a really crazy story. But you know how you gotta take shots over and over again? Well, this was more for a video, and all day long, Dawn jumped in the water. So it's me going back and forth on the rope, and I'm jumping and splashing. At the end, what I got, 3 seconds of my butt. And that's it. And I'm like, all right, all day I'll work, arms worked up, and there's one shot, 3 seconds of my butt. So, not crazy, but it's a story.
hey, it's a great story. I liked it. So, you know what? That'll wrap it up for today's segment, and we'll have more interesting topics coming right up. Hi, we're back with 4 new bikini models, and we have an extremely interesting subject to talk about right now. And that would be, how do you girls feel about how society has put it in all of our minds that we have to be thin? I mean, I know my little nieces, they look at the carbohydrate content, the fat grams. What do you feel, especially being bikini models? What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, I have to admit, I do make sure I'm not eating too many carbs, and I try to keep low fat. But I think a lot of people have to know that there's such thing as airbrushing. Not everybody is perfect, and I mean, I have not eaten on occasions to make sure I'm thin, and but I really try not to do that anymore. I try to just exercise instead of starving myself. But a lot of people I know take pills and starve themselves, and they don't have the energy to go on with the shoot. I need to have energy and.
Yeah, and people seem to think oh, she's a bikini model, she must not eat, or she does this or that. I mean, that's not right at all. A lot of girls they go by a strict diet, yeah, but they're eating what they need. They're eating their protein, their carbs. I don't know, photo shoots, you gotta have some energy. You can't just go out there on no food, or you're not gonna do good in front of the camera.
Right, but you have to admit that in this business, especially, I mean, maybe not specifically any of you. This is a huge issue. Bulimia, anorexia. I mean, I myself have been anorexic. I've been a lingerie, swimwear model, fashion, different types of, and it's always about, oh my God, look how thin you are, you look amazing. I mean, the thinner I got, the more I worked. And it feeds on itself, It's such an oxymoron, you know what I'm saying? It's just you have to take care of yourself. I know now that nutrition, you have to feed your brain, your body. But, let's talk about some of those experiences with you. Before you have an audition or before you have a job, what do you do? Do you take any supplements, any diet pills? It's a good subject to bring up because it's a huge...
Everybody is very, everyone asks, do you eat? I get that all the time. And I work out 6 days a week pretty much, and I try really hard, but every once in a while you can't work out, and sometimes, you think it's best to skip a meal here or there, but...
Little do they know that is the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, that's the worst
you
thing.
need to feed your body throughout the day,
Eat 5 frequent meals a day.
Yes, definitely.
And I do take supplements. I take hydroxycut before a shoot, but I don't feel that that's wrong because in my eyes, I'm not abusing this, and I feel that anything that you do overly, you can abuse. And if you do something in your mind, you're not hooked on something, like some girls throw up, but they get to eat whatever they want, and that's their lifestyle. And that's what they feel that they have to do in order to look good in front of the camera.
But that's not right, and someone needs to let them know that. I mean, people do. I mean, the hydroxycut, you have a point. Like, I've gone through taking hydroxycut. There's nothing wrong with that in my eyes. Like, I just decided, like, I can do it without hydroxycut.
In moderation, right?
But yeah, exactly.
Moderation.
It tells you.
Sometimes moderation is kind of a.
Well, people have different views of what is in moderation. I mean, some people don't think they're abusing their bodies by missing meals here and there, but I mean,
Absolutely.
it's all relative to
It's a
the
big,
person.
it's a woman's issue. Even women that don't model, it's huge, body conscious and, well, I'm gonna have a big dinner tonight, so I'll starve myself all day.
Right.
It's so terrible for your body what it does, but it's a big issue. Let's talk about, do you have any friends that are bulimic or anorexic or?
I definitely know some girls who are pill poppers who pretty much will supplement a meal pills, and they think they're doing good for their body, but they're just doing more damage. And I've tried to tell them that it's up to them to change their habits.
You have to learn what is healthy in your eyes. And yes, it is relative to everyone. Your view of what healthy is going to be different from what my view is. But if you find something that works for your body, if you know that you have to eat so many times a day and you eat those meals and what percentages, a lot of girls will do 40% carbs, 30% protein,
Let me ask
30% fat.
Let me ask Shannon his opinion on, do you think that a thinner model is that a better thing as far as like photography goes, or what's your opinion on this?
I wouldn't say that models being thinner or a little heavier is the issue. I think that society has tagged models as being thin, period, as a general norm. Society has put a lot of restraints and restrictions on you all, making you feel that you have to be that. But the fact is that women are beautiful, period. And there's a photographer out there for every woman. It's not something that you have to do. Hydroxycut, fine. If your body can take that and it's something that you want to do for energy, which is what it sounded like you all were doing, not something that you're taking the pill for wanting to lose so much weight before a shoot that the restraints of the photographer has told you you're overweight, or the family members, or the boyfriends, or the husbands, or society. It's that you're doing it for the energy to get through the shoot. But people within the non-modeling world, there's a lot of abuse that goes on with those products. I've used them. I've lost 20 pounds on them. But it was something that a doctor recommended for me to go on for energy, for some things that I was doing because it was pushing my body way too much.
I think it's a lifestyle. It's something that you have to incorporate into your lifestyle, and for every person it's going to be different. And whether you're using products like hydroxycut or just eating the right things and knowing what works for you, I think it's a personal choice. But I lost 9 pounds just before a couple months ago, about 3 months ago, and it was just a matter of getting myself into the gym, working out, and eating the right things.
The key point is health, working out, eating the right foods, doing a regimen of sleep, and keeping those things up. That's what's going to help you more than anything else. You don't need to rely on these pills to make you be beautiful, make you feel special.
You can get addicted to working out too. I have to admit, I can have a hamburger and the next day I will run 6 miles just to make sure I worked it
all
off.
about that moderation, basically. I'm seeing. It feels like our society does need to be enlightened, though, in regards to this. Just because I've seen, I've done many photo shoots in my day, and it's like if a model is overweight, we're going to scoot her over and get the other one in that is, But basically, it's a very interesting topic, and thank you so much. We're back with 5 new beautiful bikini models, and we have another interesting question to discuss. How many of you have ever thought about taking bikini modeling to a different level? Have you ever posed nude? Would you pose nude? My mother actually was a playmate when I was 5 years old, so I have a whole other take on this whole thing. But let's hear some of your thoughts on that.
No disrespect to your mother. I'll take it. I wouldn't pose nude ever. I have worked hard on my body. I've trained hard. I do like showing my body off. It's great. It's fantastic. It is empowerment. But I feel that there's a limit for me that this is covered, that's covered, and that's covered.
Well, I tend to take another opinion, to each his own. But personally, I was offered by Playboy to do the first painting centerfold, not a photograph. But back then, I decided I wouldn't do it because I thought I was a little more, I think I was younger, and I was a little more naive about what people's perception was and what I should place value, how much value I should place on people's perception. The reality of the situation is you should do in life what makes you happy. Whether it's what makes others happy, or everyone's going to have their own piece of advice or their own opinion, but you should do what really makes you happy between you and your belief system. And be it what that may, as long as you're okay with that, then I think that's a good way to live.
I wouldn't do it. Only I would go as far as maybe having your hands here or something kind of very nice and elegant. But to go totally nude, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's all very personal. It's a very personal issue. And
yeah, I'm definitely going to have to agree with Diane. I actually think it's a priceless look when you have the opposite sex looking at you and maybe visualizing what you look. I think it's
something like that cliche, leaving
yes.
something for the imagination.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree.
It's like, come on, guys, we're bikini models. It all comes down to sex, baby. It's pure TNA value. You say you're gonna walk around in a thong bikini, and you guys, got guys pulling a trap look like, and they're just ogling you, and you're gonna say, no, I'm not gonna get naked. I don't want to be demeaned like that. It makes zero sense to me.
I guess what you're saying is a bit hypocritical because we're almost there anyway, so we might as well. We're just kind of giving it to them.
I like the
it's like we're being cheese.
too. It is the mystery of it too. So yeah, it just depends on. What do you think about it being a photographer?
I would never pose nude. I have to draw the line somewhere. So, but seriously, I think as a photographer, you work for a client, and that client is selling a product. And going into a situation, you need to be comfortable with that situation. And if it requires nudity, you need to say yay or nay. And I think that's very important that you realize that you're working for someone. It's a job. And if you don't feel comfortable, then you should be in that position.
I totally agree with that, completely.
I agree too. Yeah.
You agree to say?
I say, yeah, you know your boundaries. That's something that you get into it knowing what you're getting yourself into.
Just say going on a film audition. I mean, you get a script or the casting director will say it'll be written right there on the breakdown explaining, partial nudity required. And it's like you say whether or not you want to go that route or not. It's totally up to the individual. But a woman's body is a beautiful thing.
But also, not to interrupt, but it can also, there's so many different ways of describing beauty and art versus vulgarity and pornography. Those are two completely different things. Because you can see Demi Moore pregnant on the cover of Vanity Fair, and she's completely nude, but the way in which it's done is with the utmost of taste and respect towards women. So it's not demeaning, it's not derogatory in any way. That, I think, is definitely something that you need to take into consideration.
Not an exploitive. Exactly. Right, if there was like a top A film and there's a scene with, and there's a reason for it, that's something.
I think there's a certain etiquette that goes along with being a photographer, and when you're in that situation, that you be respectful of that particular model and how she feels. And going into it, you should be talking about that.
On to yours, you're saying, it's how it's portrayed, or, you know, it was the Vanity Fair versus the Hustler. But we get so frustrated as women because we don't have any respect for men. But we get these women that do these pornographic type films. I know they're not, a gun's not held to their head to do it. They're choosing to do it. But as a woman, I'm asking for respect. But then I turn around and act like a tart in a picture. How am I going to gain respect and then look at me beyond or above my neck? And again, that's all I'm saying is a lot of times it turns the other way because you don't see a whole lot of Vanity Fair elegantly done in an artistic way. It ends up, you see a lot more hustler.
I have an opinion on that because I think that each individual should be respected for his or her own right. I don't think it's for us to pass the blame or pass the buck and let other people dictate the level of respect that we should command for ourselves because we're worthy of it. I mean, that is not something, I don't believe that one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. I mean, well, there may be one person that does, just because one woman does nudity or pornography doesn't make me feel like I have any less respect for myself because I'm a woman. So I think it's just being a woman, you know, being a woman. Being beautiful. There's so many different facets of that, you know, and
April, can I ask you something?
Sure.
You seem like you would be hesitant to do this, am I right?
well, you know, just like I said, my mother actually had
Well, I'm
done it.
saying, say I'm representing Playboy and I come up to you and I say, April, I think you're so sexy and you're so beautiful and I would be so honored if you would do a centerfold for us and I'm willing to pay you whatever it takes to get that.
I think
what
that's
do you do?
amazing. I think it's wonderful. If you choose to do that,
Would you do it?
well, it's happened. You know, my mother was a playmate at 67, Miss April, and, you know, and I actually haven't gone that route because I've been married and my husband would kill me and I would be murdered. I've gone a long time ago. So, you know, but I think, like I said, I think, you know, those pictures are beautiful and it's a woman's choice.
Well, can I ask everyone else on the panel, is there any amount of money that someone could offer you to do that or any incentive? Say you were
It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about your principles as a human being. Because some people, the most precious things in life are not for sale, and those are the things that they're priceless. So, I mean, if you want to do it for money, more power to you. To each his own. But I would do
bikini modeling. Then is it?
Not certainly not for the money. Sorry, I don't do it. I mean, I'm a corporate career woman, so this is my first competition. So, you know, I mean, going to do the bikini competition is something that I'm not just thrilling, just to think that I had the gall to get out there at my age to do it. You know? I'm proud. Go get it.
If any of you do get naked, that's great. I personally, I'm beautiful now, and I don't need to let anyone see any more of me. I feel beautiful with my face and my mind. And I do get in a bikini, and my posing is not as seductive, and it doesn't bring on, ooh, she's done this pose, let's get her to do that pose. And I don't give them that impression from the get-go that I would even go there. I have no disrespect for a woman that does, so I'm saying there's no, you can pay me $10 billion and I wouldn't do it, because that's not my principle anyway.
For the record, I would.
And I still love you, girl! $10 billion. Sorry, $80.
Well, Diane, I think you're beautiful, Diane. I would discussion, and
I thank you all for joining us, and we'll be back for more later. Thanks, girls.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Bikini Talk Show. Next, you'll see what every bikini model wants to be.